Now that the Olympics have officially kicked off, let's break down a few of the US athletes you should be following this year. The United States of America's athlete roster this year is full of both newcomers and history makers. And while this is by no means a comprehensive list of all of the athletes that are headed to the Olympics for the US, I did want to share a few of my favorites that I'll be focused in on and why I'm watching them. First up is someone who's on everyone's list and for good reason. Simone Biles is headed back to the Olympics for the third time. At the last Summer Olympics in Tokyo, Simone had a devastating case of the twisties. Heading into the Tokyo Olympics, before Simone had her own struggles, we already expected that to be her last Olympics. Given that this year at 27, Simone becomes the oldest woman to compete for the USA gymnastics team. However, she has already shown that she is completely back in action. And Simone is coming to the Olympics with something to prove. Something that I find so inspiring about Simone is that not only did she take off time for her own mental health, she spoke out about it to let you know that it's okay for you to do so too. And we're seeing the results of her taking that time for herself. Because with 37 Olympic and world medals, Simone is already the most decorated gymnast of all time, male or female. But as she heads into these Olympic Games, she's not only looking to add to her medal count, she's bringing a new skill to uneven bars. Now, this skill has never actually been completed by a gymnast in competition, and so if she does land it in competition, this skill will be named after her. And that's nothing new because Simone already has 5 skills named after her in gymnastics. 2 of those are on floor, 2 of those are on vault, and 1 of those are on beam. If she does manage to land this new skill on uneven bars, it will not only be the 6th skill named after her, but she will become the only active gymnast to have a skill named after her on every single apparatus. There's no denying that Simone Biles is one of the stars of this year's Olympic Games, and that you should absolutely be tuning into women's gymnastics this year. On the flip side, in men's gymnastics, we have a newcomer, Fred Richard. You may already know him from social media under the handle Frederick Flips, but he is the current US gymnastics all-around men's champion. Leading into the Games, he's given some great interviews about what his goals are, which not only include winning gold at the Olympic Games, but also finding a way to bring excitement to men's gymnastics from the US audience. Part of the reason that US men's gymnastics does not have much of a following as women's gymnastics does is because US men's gymnastics has not won an Olympic medal since 2008. Through his social media presence as he's competed in college gymnastics, he's brought a lot of fun and entertainment and general joy to the sport. I think he's done a great job of bringing visibility and comedy to men's gymnastics, which we all know are great marketing tools, but he's also really good. Fred marks the best shot that the US men's gymnastics team has had at gold in a while, and I will definitely be watching to see if he can break our losing streak. Our next athlete is no stranger to the Olympic Games. Katie Ledecky, who is on our US women's swim team, is heading to her 4th Olympic Games. She is a 7-time Olympic gold medalist and has a chance to break a few pretty impressive records this year. If she wins at least 3 gold medals, she will break the record for most number of gold medals held by a female athlete in any sport, and this would also make her the 2nd Olympic athlete ever to win 10 or more gold medals. The first was Michael Phelps, and if one of those gold medals is in the 800-meter freestyle, she'll be the 2nd woman and first female swimmer to win 4 consecutive gold medals in the same event. Much like Simone Biles, Katie Ledecky has already proven herself to be the greatest of all time when it comes to women's swimming. This time around, she's just there to keep breaking her own records and further cement her place in history. Next up is one of the most talked about first-time Olympians. Sha'carri Richardson is headed to her first Olympic Games. If you haven't heard of Sha'carri, she runs the 100-meter dash, and at Olympic trials, she just set the record for the fastest 100-meter dash at 10.71 seconds. Sha'carri Richardson is also the reigning world champion when it comes to the 100-meter dash, and is widely expected to dominate the competition in that event. Next up is maybe one of the ones that I am the most excited for. As someone whose love for basketball was sparked at a young age by repeat viewings of Michael Jordan's Space Jam, the US men's basketball team has always been one of my most followed Olympic events. This year's team has a unique combination of veterans who most likely will be playing at their last Olympic Games, as well as new and younger talent. There's something really exciting about watching these 2 generations of basketball play together and pass the torch to the next generation of the NBA, but there's also something undeniably exciting about watching LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry compete together in what will most likely be their last Olympic Games ever. This is also Steph Curry's first Olympic Games and most likely his only shot at winning an Olympic gold medal. While Steph and Kevin Durant have been teammates before, this is the first time we've ever seen Steph and LeBron play together. And if you've been watching any of the clips of them playing together so far, it is a sight to be seen. These are objectively 2 of the best basketball players in modern NBA history, and watching them play together in a way that they would never get a chance to in the league, it's something beautiful and that's something that shouldn't be missed. Between Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and LeBron James, collectively they hold 10 NBA championships, 7 MVP awards, and 44 All-Star appearances. LeBron James also had the honor of being one of the USA flag bearers for the opening ceremony, and to be honest, if you haven't seen the videos that Coco Gauff posted of him, he is just having a great time. Kevin Durant will also be striving for a record-breaking 4 gold medals. If you are an NBA fan, or even if you're not an NBA fan, watching this US men's basketball team is going to spark your love for the game. You're going to see some of the greatest basketball being played, but you're also going to see some of these NBA greats just having a great time playing together. One of my favorite things about watching the Olympics when it comes to men's basketball is that you get to see this combination of players that never get to play together. You're watching some of the greats mesh into this perfect puzzle piece and hopefully bring home gold. And of course, we can't talk about basketball without talking about women's basketball this year. The WNBA exploded this year when it comes to public viewership, but you may not know that women's basketball has been dominating when it comes to the Olympics for a long time. And you can tell just how long that's been because of Diana Taurasi. Having been the first overall WNBA draft pick back in 2004, Taurasi is headed to her 6th Olympic Games. And in the last 5 she was there, they won gold every time. Once again, the best part about watching basketball games when it comes to the Olympics is that players who are usually competitors for the rest of the season get to team up to put their incredible skills together as a team. From Asia Wilson to Sabrina Ionescu, you're going to get to see some of the WNBA's greatest players put that perfect game together. Whether you've been watching the WNBA or not, I highly recommend tuning into the women's basketball games for the Olympics this year. I think after watching some of their gameplay this year, if you're not already watching the WNBA, you will be interested in it after, which is perfect because the WNBA are on their Olympic break right now, but when the Olympics are over and you are thirsting for live sporting competition again, WNBA will be back. Next athlete I'm going to talk about you may have already heard of because she just became the first women's rugby player to cross 1 million followers on Instagram. Ilona Maher is one of my favorite personalities online, and I think one of the most accessible athletes that are representing the United States in the Olympics this year. Ilona plays rugby for us, which is a sport that I think overall the US is primed to be excited about and is just not getting enough coverage and excitement. Rugby is brutal, it's exciting, it's fast-paced, and in all honesty, there is like a primal excitement to watching a game. And I think Ilona is a perfect entry point for people who have never watched rugby, because if you follow her on social media, she is actively making just a safe space for women to be comfortable with their bodies, with their mental health, promoting this idea of being strong and the idea that every body type can be an Olympian, every body type can be strong, and every body serves the personal needs of the person in it. I find Ilona very inspiring, very funny, and very enjoyable to watch. And when you have a personal connection with an athlete, watching them succeed and rooting for them is that much easier. And I think Ilona has like this excitement around her because she has the possibility of connecting with enough Americans to get people excited about the sport. Personally, the first time I watched rugby, I was in a pub in Dublin, which is something that you can never replicate. And that was definitely enough to get me interested in the sport itself. But following Ilona and her career has made me more and more excited about women's rugby. And I really hope we can bring the excitement up about women's rugby outside of just the Olympics. I highly recommend tuning into their games. And I also think Ilona is someone to watch in terms of how excited she can get the US about this sport. And last but certainly not least, Coco Gauff has finally made it to the Olympics. Coco qualified for the Tokyo Olympics at 17 years old, but right before she was set to leave for Tokyo, she tested positive. She had to drop out of the competition, but the years in between have only made her more competitive. Alongside LeBron, Coco became the youngest US flag bearer in history. Not only will she be competing in tennis for the women's singles, she'll also be teaming up with Taylor Fritz for the mixed doubles. Watching the two of them play together is going to be incredible. We just finished up at Wimbledon, and this is your chance to get into tennis and live your challenger's dreams. I've only told you about 8 different athletes that are representing the US at the Olympics this year, and there are an incredible number of other athletes that are heading to the Olympics. There are new sports making their debut like breaking, there are legends competing for their final time, there are records to be broken, and there is a new generation of athletes that are coming in. Overall, the Olympics are just one of the most exciting times in sports, and I highly encourage you to use this time to get into a new sport, find a new favorite athlete, look up different information about a sport that you've never heard of. Give these athletes the attention that they deserve, because these athletes have been training for this their entire lives, and they only get a chance to compete once every 4 years. For some athletes, this will be the only time they get to compete on a stage like this. So tune in, get excited, and root for gold. If you are a general sports fan, you are just getting into sports, or you want to learn more, I hope you like this video, and I hope you will hit the subscribe button. I'm Marissa, and I try to make sports generally accessible and exciting. Whether you felt like sports were not for you, or you did not feel welcome in the space, I am here to help you combat that feeling and enjoy sports in a way that is fun, exciting, and non-judgmental. I also get the chance to take you behind the scenes with me to really cool experiences, like hanging out in the Red Bull Garage and Paddock Club, going to Formula 1 races, basketball games, and things like that. And so I hope you'll join me on those adventures by hitting the subscribe button. Until then, I am wishing you a happy Olympics to all who celebrate.